Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Easy Peasy Books podcast. And I'm flying solo today, and I wanted to talk about discovery calls. So don't worry, this is not a pitch for you to go and call me. I wanted to talk about recording your discovery calls. And so if you use something like Zoom, you might already be using the built-in recording features in Zoom. I actually don't like to use Zoom. It doesn't give me a complete enough transcript of the meeting. So it's good. It gives me some stuff as backup, but I actually like to use Otter AI. That is my preferred note-taking tool, so to speak. And when I do a call, whether, especially discovery calls, I always have it show up. I always have it show up to take the notes because I want to focus on the person. I don't want to sit there with that, pad of paper and sit there and take notes. I want to be able to concentrate and really listen to whoever I'm talking with. So I record my discovery calls, and I try to keep my calls to about 15 minutes long. And these are calls to really just kind of, I think of them more as a get to know you call. It allows me to get to know them. They get to know me. And I find out what is their problem, because I may not be the solution to that problem. Or maybe I just want to get to know them and answer some questions or something like that. Give them a quick win, whatever. So I was thinking that one of the beauties of having discovery calls, and there's actually quite a few things for discovery calls, but one of the best things is that it can give you some ideas for what to put in your book. And I don't mean just like a case study. What I'm talking about is paying attention to the questions that people ask, because on a discovery call, this is where we arrive as experts, knowing so much that we sometimes suffer what I call the curse of knowledge, where it's like you forget what it's like to be that beginner. You're here, but they're still back. You're like at the front of the line, and they're still at the back of the line, kind of like looking and peering and going, well, how long does this line go? They don't know anything. They don't know anything yet, or they know minimal, which is why they're coming to you as an expert. And so I was having a discovery call this week, and somebody was talking to me about the services that we provide. And they asked about printing and distribution of the book. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, do you actually print the book for me and send it to people, or, send me X amount of copies that I have? Like, how does that all work? Or do you work with a company that does that? And I said, no, that's all handled now through Amazon, because we were talking about Amazon. And they had no idea. They didn't know what print on demand was. And you know what? It wasn't too long ago, I didn't know what print on demand was. So this was definitely not a dumb question. This was a great question. And I was able to explain that Amazon is amazing, and that they do this wonderful thing called print on demand. And that what happens is, on Amazon, you upload your book. And then if somebody orders a copy of that book, Amazon has these fantastic printers that they can make the book, and zippity-doo-dah, they just print that book out and mail that book out within 2 days. And you're just like, wow, how does it do this? And the amazing thing is, it's all over the world. So if I live in the United States, which is what I do, I live in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, to be a little bit more precise. But yes, I live in the United States. And if somebody buys my book in the UK, it doesn't get printed here in the United States and then shipped, by ship or by plane or whatever. It actually gets printed in the UK, and then it gets delivered from that distribution point to the people in the UK. And the same with if somebody's in Germany or France or, wherever you want to go. And that is the beauty of print on demand. And what that means is we don't have to have boxes and boxes and boxes of books in our garage that we now ship out by hand. And you know what? It wasn't too long ago that that's the way things were. I remember one of the first clients that I was working with on a book, that's what they did. They had to order a bunch of books and have them printed by a printer. And then they had them in their house. And then they had to always just make sure that they were mailing them out. We did a website to get them out there, but they were physically having to do shipping and handling for every single book because that's the way things were done. And now it's like, we kind of forgot that's how life was, because now it is so easy. Now, what's the beauty is that you can still bulk order your books when you're with Amazon, because as authors, you get to do what's called a author copy, which means you get to buy your book at wholesale rates. This is the rates that, are cost, the cost of printing, and of course, Amazon still has to get its little cut, but, and then you pay for shipping. So even if you have Amazon Prime, you have to pay for the shipping of your author copies. So it's the one thing that's like, oh, that would have been nice if I get free shipping on my own books, but no, you have to pay for the shipping. But then you can order a box of 100 or a box of, I think the highest is 999. So one shy of 1,000, but you could order it again and again and have them all shipped to you. So you can actually fill up the house. If you were going to a conference, you could order them and have them drop shipped at maybe the conference facility. Maybe the organizers are local and you'd ship the book in advance, probably a couple weeks in advance, just to make sure that they get there on time. So you don't have to take them all on the airplane or something like that. But that is the beauty of print on demand. So this was a question that came up in my discovery call. And I had forgotten that people didn't realize what print on demand was. So that's why having discovery calls are good, because they help you go back to that time where you didn't know what you know now. Because sometimes we just make so many assumptions that our reader is where we're at. And they're not. And our book is that bridge between where we are today and where the person is reading the book. And so you can't make those assumptions. So that's why having those discovery calls, that is absolute gold. You should be mining those and looking for what are the questions that people are asking and what are my answers, and do my answers varied? If I'm on one call, do I talk about this? On another call, I talk about that. So, say for instance, if somebody was talking to me about what kind of content should I have to continue to market my book? Well, I might be on one call with somebody and be talking to them about the power of video. Or on another one, I might be talking about how you can use Kindle quotes, and you can get Kindle quotes and make a nice little graphic, and that can be used. So sometimes on a discovery call, we just never know what's going to pop into our head. So we don't show up with a script. It's just, whatever the universe downloads into our brain that day, which is why they are gold. So discovery calls, I really hope that you're doing them, because it's great content for you to use in your book. They might be great examples. Sometimes even just the words that you use yourself, never mind the questions. What are the answers? Because you're just like, oh, I said that so well. I really, crystallized my thinking there. And we do, because I think when somebody asks a question and then we give the answer, it's that back and forth that really ties it together, as opposed to when we're doing a presentation and we're anticipating what those questions are going to be. So we're kind of doing more of a broadcast. But I think the conversations in these discovery calls is good. And look at the language. That's another thing. Look at the language that they use and look at the language that you use, and be aware of, are you using any jargon? So for instance, in another discovery call I was on recently, I was talking to them about having an ISBN number. And then I was talking about how if you go with Amazon, you can get a free one. But if you live in the United States, you'd want to go to Bowker, because it's the only agency in the United States where you can get an ISBN number. And you would buy either a single or a pack of 10. And so, I was talking about all the things to do with ISBNs and helping them make that decision, in advance before we start doing the layout and typesetting for their book. Until all of a sudden I realized they didn't even know what ISBN stood for. There I was making an assumption that everybody knows what ISBN number is, or an ISBN, because it's actually International Standard Book Number. So when I say an ISBN number, I'm making stuff up because that's already as part of the ISBN. It's like number doesn't even make any sense, Gillian, but I do that sometimes. So I have known about ISBNs for like my whole adult life because I come from a library background. I used to work in a library. I worked in the library in college. I worked in the library after college. I actually know the Dewey Decimal System by heart. So it's like I should go on some sort of game show because I could win. Somebody could quiz me and it's like, where's this? And it's like, boom, I have it in my head. I can walk straight to the shelf and I can pretty much find anything in a library without having a computer. Probably because I worked in libraries when we had card catalogs. Literally pull this like drawer out and it had all the little cards. So there was like one card catalog for titles and another one for subjects. So you even had to have in your head a subject would be biographies -- United States -- poets, like random stuff that still kind of comes back to me. But anyways, I digress. So I was talking about ISBNs and I realized that here I was using the jargon and not stopping to explain International Standard Book Number. And I need to do that when I write in a book. I need to make sure that I'm using terms that I use all the time, but I define them in my book. And so if you pay attention to your discovery calls and you say, people are calling it, that barcode for your book. And you're like, oh, okay. Actually, if you look at the back cover, there is a barcode, but the ISBN is part of that. And sometimes it looks like a barcode. Sometimes you see the whole number. It's different and you have to explain, what is that barcode? Where do you get that barcode? These are things that people are like, oh, I don't even understand all of this stuff. So that's why paying attention to those discovery calls, learn about your language, learn about the assumptions you're making with people and what could I do better? And I actually do that. Here's like my little ninja tip. If you take a discovery call after you've had it, and I use Otter AI so I can get the transcripts. So what I will do is I will download the transcript and sometimes I will upload it into ChatGPT and I'll ask it to give me a critique and let me know, okay, can you analyze this discovery call and let me know what I did well, what I could improve on. Was it too long? Was it too short? What were their questions? How did I answer them? You can get stuff out of that. So, you don't have to just sit there with this big, long transcript and you're like, now what do I do with it? That's where we put AI to work and kind of let it do the heavy lifting for us and figure out what are the common questions people are doing. So, you could have a project in ChatGPT and call it discovery calls. And every time you do a discovery call, you just add it into the project. And then you could begin to have it like, okay, looking at these 15 discovery calls, what are the common themes that are coming, through? Because maybe I should actually go and do a lead magnet that explains all that to people that I could either give them before a discovery call or at the end of the discovery call. So that might save me a lot of time and help and really be helpful for people because there's nothing worse than doing a discovery call and then the person goes off. You never hear from them again. And you're just like, okay. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about discovery calls and just show you how they can make for some excellent content for you to include in your book. We'll see you back here next time on another edition of the Easy Peasy Books podcast.